Welcome everybody to our webinar. We will be joined by Rune Lindvik from Talend and by Maciej Palivoda from Vertica. We are here to introduce our webinar where we connect these two very performant technologies together, which is Talend and Vertica. The agenda for the webinar today is to have a brief introduction on btProvider, to have a brief introduction on Talend and Vertica, and then we'll have two demo sections, one for Talend, where we are showing how to quickly load the data and what would be the ELT approach in connection to Vertica. In the Vertica demo session, we will run several heavy analytical queries on Vertica. Then we'll have a conclusion sessions, and then we'll kindly wait for your questions in the Q&A section. Brief introduction on btProvider. So we are the data analytics company. In the course of our presence in the market, we certified as Talend Gold Partner. We certified also as Vertica Gold Partner, and we have also certified as Tableau Partner. In 2019, we are also certified as a Salesforce partner, and this is the same year where we achieved the ISO 27001 certification. And early 2021, we created a joint venture with Next Consult in order to become one of the largest digitalization providers in the region. And we also certified as a Tableau Premier Reseller Partner, which is the highest level of certification in the Tableau partner ecosystem. We have very recently certified as MuleSoft partners. So together we are having a broad range of solutions in the digitalization area. For the goal of the presentation today, first of all, we want to showcase how easy it is to streamline design of data pipeline flows using the solutions that are provided by Talend, and how does the push-down transformations to the database, in this case Vertica, are working and how flexible they are. Overall, we want to show what kind of power you would have when you combine two industry leaders in terms of technology for modern data pipelines, which is one is Talend for the data integration part, and the other one is Vertica for data warehousing. And we, in the end, we want to highlight on the features that Vertica provides in terms of supporting the data pipeline processes. And now I will hand over the mic to our friend Rune. Thank you.
Yes, hello and good day, everyone. So today I am going to present the Talend offering, but just to start out, so who is Talend? So Talend is a data management company, and so we provide capabilities that allow you to access, transform, and share your data. And we do this in batch mode and by large-scale processing on your big data clusters and in real time and streaming. And we provide over 1,000 connectors and components that will help you standardize, clean, mask, and in general transform your data, but also govern, orchestrate, and document your data processes. So we have been recognized as leaders by the top analyst firms like Gartner and Forrester in data integration, data quality, but also Forrester's Fabric Wave, which I'm going to explain to you a bit more about later. Now, we are trusted by over 6,500 global organizations which use our products, and we have deep partnerships with the leading cloud ecosystems as well, AWS, Microsoft, Vertica, and Talend has over 1,500 employees supporting your companies across the globe. So that's a brief summary of who Talend is. So what is the Talend Data Fabric? Now, Talend Data Fabric is a unified platform with multiple applications that provide role-specific access to collaborate on data assets and processes. Now that means that you will have an application for developers, an applications for data stewards, for data protection officers, or end user data consumers. These different applications all tie into the same Talend platform, and it gives you a different perspective on the data, and it gives you different toolings that is targeted towards the specific end user. And what you can see here is an overview of those different applications. Now, Talend can support any type of project, as all projects need data processing and management of that data, and documentation of the data and the processes around that as well. So today we're looking at the modernization of the data architectures, but in essence, if it's real-time streaming projects, IoT projects, migration, 360 projects, Talend, the toolings in the Talend platform can all support all these kinds of projects. Now, three main use cases we often see by our customers are things like data modernization, or data governance, or providing trust to the data through our data health initiative. And on our website, you can go and look, just search for Talend customers. You can see a whole bunch of different customers and their user stories and what they have achieved with the Talend platform. So if we look to a conceptual modern data architecture, I've taken these metrics on the right side here from Eggerson Group, and it's all about a modern data architecture has to be customer-centric, it has to be adaptable, it has to be flexible, it has to have collaboration, it needs to be governed, it needs to be elastic, and so forth. You can see all the metrics on the right side, right? And that is what is required to deliver an actual modern data architecture. But what we see here is that I'm missing. Oh, sorry, I needed to click here. So what Talend can help you provide is, Talend is not a visualization tool, so we do not deliver business intelligence tool or tools for doing analysis of your or creation of machine learning models. Now, Talend helps you to manage the data and document the data flow and provide the data at the end. So if we look to the left where we have our source systems, then Talend will help you ingest that data into your data lake by ingestion, and we have again several tools that will help to do that. Now, once the data is in your data lake, then you would like to process that data, and we can do that in a regular batch flow, or we can process that on a big data cluster and provide that also into a data warehouse or data marts. Now, we can also do direct application to application integration, and on the common platform services, you need support in terms of data governance, data catalog, to document the data process flow. You need to apply data quality on all aspects of your data deliveries. You need to monitor the usage and the processes. You need to facilitate master data management. We have components that help you identify duplicates and resolve those things as well, and administration and maintenance as well. So these are areas where the Talend platform will help you or can support you. So now the Talend Data Fabric is what we call a unified platform, and it can be delivered as an on-premise solution, it can be delivered as a pure SaaS solution, or it can also be a hybrid solution where all of the applications are hosted and managed in the cloud by Talend, but you have full control of where your engines are running or where your cluster sits, and you can and then decide where you want to run and process your data. So you have full control of your data and where the data is read from and written to, and it never goes to Talend as we do not host data. And yeah, you can see all our security credentials on trusttalent.com, where you can see this, yeah, the certification. All the certifications we have. So we host the applications, and you decide where you want to install and run an engine. You can do that on Amazon through the marketplace. Just spin up an engine, or on Azure, and you can spin up one on Google as well. And the information that flows back to the Talend cloud is in general information that did the job succeed, yes or no, and that's more or less it. And you can even redirect the logs, so they also reside on the engine level as well. So no data leaves your control. And now over to Marshall.
Hello, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Maciej Palivoda. I'm solution architect and at Vertica. So for those who are not familiar what Vertica is, let me quickly explain. So Vertica is three things. It's an SQL-based data warehouse which can query the data at blazing speed. So it's MPP, massive parallel processing, high availability, and columnar, and it's optimized for load and query at a high speed. So we are also not afraid of high volumes. You can start with Vertica even with 1 terabytes and end with the petabyte scale, which proves a couple of our deployments we have. It's also an analytics and machine learning platform in which users can create, train, deploy analytics and machine learning models, or if they prefer, they can also use external platform like H2O or TensorFlow to develop those models and score them inside Vertica. And the beauty of this is that everything is in database, so no data leaves the database, and also it's available directly from SQL. And at the end is a query engine which can query data wherever it's residing. It could be cloud-based data lake, on-prem data lake based on S3, it could be Hadoop or local drives and local storage, right? So the question why Vertica, why customers should select Vertica? So most of our customers admire Vertica for allowing them to run analytics under a specific strict SLAs, right? Also, we are providing them a lot of flexibility to fine tune, or how can fine tune the performance. Also, they have a freedom to deploy Vertica in their preferred model or preferred infrastructure. And I will elaborate a little bit more about this. And also, with case of Vertica, we are transparent and have a predictable pricing for the query. And also, as Vertica is fully ANSI SQL compliant, you can easily leverage existing skill set and current investment to combine Vertica into your current existing ecosystem. So one of the major Vertica unique strength is the freedom to choose the underlying infrastructure. It could be local server room, implementation in the cloud, public, private, or multi-cloud. And what is important, Vertica, when changing the cloud operator in order to find a cheaper service, does not require changing the script. So it reduces the cost of the immigration to zero in that particular case. Vertica also allows you to scale the server and the connected storage at the same time. This is what we call enterprise mode. Or you can do it in a modern way to take advantage of the independence of scaling the computing layer and the storage layer. This is what we call Eon mode, right? And it's worth to emphasizing that Vertica is currently the only platform that allows to achieve compute and storage separation also on-prem as in the cloud. And Eon, as one of additional feature, brings up to the game the option to separate business workloads, plus the ability to quickly keep pace with the periodically changing workload. What should be noted that the later architecture does not replace the earlier ones; they are rather supplement each other. So data warehouse and data lake are having a different nature, but they need a common goal. Flexible data access wherever it resides, and a single engine that allows query the data much easier and from a single tool with single user experience and with no need to load it. And this is what the concept of unified analytics platform is about. And we are saying, so what for the others is the future, for us is now. If you are thinking how Vertica fits into, let's say, big data ecosystem, this is the slide which answer your question, right? So Vertica, as you can see, is in the middle of the whole data pipeline management flow. So we can deal with both low latency data through Kafka, through Amazon Kinesis, or we can also deal with data being loaded in the batches using the common or widely used ETL tools, like, for example, Talend. And we can also provide the insight to the data to other business users or other applications by integrating with the wide ranges of business intelligence and data science tools. So, and also, if you are thinking how Vertica could be managed fully on behalf of you, the answer is Vertica Accelerator. It's fully based on the Eon mode, and all the functionality of Vertica with automated setup, administration, and management are provided for you. It's running in your AWS account, so you own the data. There is no markup on hardware, and all the functionality with no additional cost is available for you. So also you can decide which part of the Vertica you can manage by yourself. So if you are interested in the solution, please go vertica.com/accelerator for more information. And at the end, we are proud of our references and various use cases Vertica is used in. And as you can see, only a small group of our customer is shown in this slide. So Philips, Taboola, Guess, or Trade Desk are the great examples of being data-driven companies, and they are, of course, being supported by Vertica. So this is all what I have about Vertica. And now let's go to the main part of our session today, and this is a basic setup we set up for the purposes of this webinar. So we have a 3-node Eon mode cluster sitting in AWS in VPC. On the other hand, we are also Talend remote engine also sitting in the cloud, and both of them are accessing what we call data lake, which is in fact S3 buckets. And also in terms of pipeline, and then showing you how you can use both those solutions for managing the data pipeline, we prepare 4 scenarios related to data uploading, refreshing, and archiving. Some of them we just splitting onto smaller parts just to let you better understand how they are working, right? We loaded also a simple data model, which is a standard VMAR database, and we loaded to Vertica via Talend some of fact tables and dimension tables. The rough numbers for facts are several hundred million records, and the time span of the data is roughly 9 years from 2012 to 2021. Yeah, and if you want to understand what scenarios we will be showing today, so this is the slide. So we have a source database, and on the other hand, we have which will be our target database, and we have S3 base in the AWS cloud data lake, which with 3 main zones: raw data zone, standard zone, and archive zone. So the first scenario will be just taking the data out of the source DB using a dynamic schemas and store them on data lake in raw data zone. And then, as a, let's say, additional part of that scenario is to take that to create in Vertica directly from Talend and orchestrated by Talend external tables which are pointing to those raw data. I will explain in a second what are the Vertica external tables. And then, as a second scenario, is to take some of those data, transform them and store the results in Parquet, and then trigger loading those transformed data to directly to Vertica using a bulk copy statement, which is Vertica copy statement. And then we trigger some transformations that are happening inside the database. One is to create the report and distribute it to the recipients, and second one is perform a kind of archiving. So some of the data will be exported to archive zone on S3 and then stored in a Parquet, and of course those archive data will be removed from the database. As the last scenario we are going to talk about will be create a flow and manage quite common problem, which is called slowly changing dimension. And Rune will tell a little bit more about this. Before we go to the first scenario, let's say briefly explain what external table is in Vertica. So first of all, Vertica has its own ROS format for efficient columnar formats for storing the data, but Vertica allows you also to create external tables that could point to an existing database, and you can query them using a federated query, or you can point the several types of file formats, Parquet or CJSON, Avro, and so on, that could be on object store, could be on Hadoop, could be on cloud object store, and could be located on even on POSIX system. We are dealing with external tables with any complex data types like RI structs or array of structs, and also there are corresponding functions allowing users to deal with the nested arrays. On the other hand, one of the, let's say, main characteristic of external table is that you can treat this as a regular table. In Vertica, you can run queries on top of them, you can run analytical queries, you can even join them, but no data is loaded to Vertica from external table until it's being queried. So in today's demonstration, we decided to show everything from Talend side because we thought that maybe more easy to understand than showing the console, the graphical GUI connecting to the database. And except the external tables, we will use a standard Vertica copy statement. Which is as simple as you can see in this code snippet. So you copy from table, then you specify the location. You can, as you can see, also you can use the asterisk. Then you specify the parser, could be Parquet or C or delimited or a couple of others, and also you specify the parser options. In that particular case, we decided to use Parquet and one of its parameter do of schema match by name, so you don't have to follow the orders of the columns in the external tables exactly as they are defined in the Parquet file, because Vertica will match them automatically based on their name. And another very interesting function we are going to use just to create that external table definition, which can be very painful. You don't have to understand how your Parquet is looking like, because maybe other processes is providing that file onto data lake. So using that infer function, which you can see there, you can just specify the file location, you can just specify its format, and also specify the table name, and as a result, you will get the definition you should run on Vertica side just to create the external tables. And that will be used in the demo you are going to see in a second. Rune?
Yes, thank you very much. And I will go and share my screen then. So what you're seeing here is an example job at how we can dynamically ingest data into the S3 data lake landing area. That means copying the exact same format as from your source system directly to your data lake. Now, the initial pieces you see here, that's just creating a connection to a database, and this is one creating a connection to your S3 storage. Now, here is the interesting part here. Here we will loop on all the tables that exist inside a database. I can, of course, filter and only specify which ones I want, but in essence, you can loop an entire database of 200, 400, 500 tables, doesn't matter. And for each table, it will iterate and read all the data from that table and write that to Parquet format. Now, we chose Parquet format, which could have been a JSON file, it could have been an org file. There are components in the library out here that has all the different connectors to our formats you need. So everything from Excel to all kinds of databases, all kinds of transformations, they're all listed out here to help you manipulate your data. So we write it to Parquet in this example here, and then from there on we put that Parquet file to the S3 storage, and I will then delete the local file. Now after that, then we will execute an external table towards Vertica, and so here we will attach the S3 file to a Vertica table. So this one generates the DDL, and here we then execute the DDL, so we get the table on Vertica. So in essence, this is what happens is that I just start converting this metadata you see here on screen to actual code, and then it compiles the code, and then it will launch a virtual machine and then execute that code on my local machine right now. But I could have processed that on, of course, the engine running inside your virtual private cloud as well, or on premise as well. So you can watch what happens on the screen. So it takes the first table, processes data to the Parquet file, and then the second table, third table, and you can then see over here that it also attaches the table to Vertica. So this is what is listed. So it's creating an external table and listing this, or connecting that Parquet file into that external table. So we got 3 tables, and we also got 3 files uploaded to the S3 data lake. Now, once we've uploaded to the data lake, we would usually like to take that data and then also manipulate the data in some way so that we can apply data quality, we can standardize the data, we can join additional data to enrich it, we can do deduplication on that data, whatever you need, and then apply it to a standard format, which is on your data lake. So in this example here, it's the same. We will then grab that data from the landing zone and then read the Parquet data. We will then apply transformation to that data. And I just put in one component here just to make it simple. But in essence, you could put in components that validates emails, phone numbers, do deduplication through matching. You can do data privacy and mask the data, enrich it with additional data set, whatever you need. And that is what all of these components over here are used for. And then we're writing that data to Parquet in the standard zone on the data lake. And then we upload it to the data lake. And from there on, we copy the data from the standardized layer directly into Vertica. So again, same process. So we read the data and we put the data lake, or put the file to the data lake, and we copied the data into Vertica. So, and of course, I mean, we could also have instead of reading, downloading the file and downloading the file and reading the Parquet file from data lake, we could also have used the Vertica linked table and use that directly instead of downloading the file. So that's also an option. So what we saw here was the initial challenge of ingesting data into the data lake, and we're replicating data from your source into the data lake, and this we solved by this example job here. And the next one here, we applied standardization to data or data quality cleansing from that raw layer into the or landing layer into the standard layer, and copied that data directly into the Vertica database as well. Over to you, Marci.
Yeah, thank you, Rune. So this example, this step will be related to orchestrating the pipeline flow directly on data which are inside Vertica. Okay, this is quite common problem related to the transformation of existing data. So what we did, we created quite, let's say, complex analytical query, but it's touching, the schema I was talking about earlier. The idea of that query is for the interval of past 10 days, counting from the last December of 2017, 5 top product in each category which are related to food or medical, and its latest version, because in the data we have the version of the particular good described as a dimension, and then we are taking only top 5 that are generating the highest sales amount among all the warehouses which are in particular state, so a grouping by state, and at the end we are joining with the data which are which is dimension describing the state name in the US. So the result of this query is as simple as this, and the last column, S name, is just the data coming from the external tables, and we are joining that external table with the original query by state code. What I would like to also, let's say, put your attention to is just, for example, nice limit analytical function, because that is very useful to find latest, in our case, latest version of the particular product in a particular date and in particular warehouse and in particular product case. And similarly, we are taking top 5 results, 5 records from the group that are generating the highest sales _ dollar _ amount. Okay, and this report is being called in Talend. And Rune, now can you explain what is happening exactly there?
Yes, I can do that as well. So let me share my screen. So in essence, what we're doing here is that we're establishing a connection. We are creating a Excel workbook, and then here we can execute any SQL towards the Vertica database. So the result of that query will then be output. I'm just outputting it to the screen here so we can see what's actually happening. But also then we are providing that data into an Excel file. And from there on, I wanted to send the files through to a mail or to various users. Our internal mail system does not allow to that. So as a security, I'm not able to do that. So I've just deactivated this component, so this will actually run. But in essence, what happens is that we just execute the SQL towards Vertica for sure. Whoops. That's okay. This table here has been deleted for some reason. Okay, well, let's skip that anyway. So what happens is we will just execute this SQL that Masha just showed. You can see it's just listed here. And then we are outputting that to an Excel spreadsheet. And you have various options to configure that spreadsheet with multiple sheets and everything. And then we just log it off and save it, and then we send it via email. Now, this could have been any kind of a file format. It could have been a PDF document or whatever, a text file, whatever you need. And then this will be sent off. So it's just an example of how you can use all the various components you have available over here to execute on that data. So let's go to the slides again.
Now, regarding the second part of that third scenario is let me add additional information. So with Vertica 11, we just implemented the features related to we enable user to have an access to stored procedures. So currently, we are offering the Vertica procedural language, which is compatible with the PostgreSQL. And also we are able to deal with the curses, right? However, what will be available in the in the next releases or future releases, the triggers and time-based action schedulers will be implemented as needed. So in that particular case, what we have done, we created the Vertica stored procedure. This is the code of that stored procedure. So basically, code might be long, but it's let me quickly explain what is happening there. So first line is a definition and the procedure signature. Then you can find in the declare section the variables we'll be using. Then is a basic error checking of parameters we are passing to the stored procedure, which is file location, table schema, table name, and the number partition we want to export. Basically, this stored procedure is about taking the oldest n partition. The table we are passing is already partitioned there by month. Okay, so we're taking the n past the earliest months, and we are trying to export to S3. So this query, the loop starting with force in is just about to query system table, Vertica system tables, and pass the oldest n partition or an oldest months that will be exporting, and the loop starting with loop keyword is just building the list of the partition keys to be able to export and to add to the exporting query. Then, as a last, the one of the last step, we are building a query that are dropping the partition, because after the exporting data to or having data on S3, we want to release a space on the data warehouse side. That is why we are dropping those partition. This is a calling of Vertica query, and at the end we are executing first export query and then executing drop partition query. Of course, there could be added some extra error checking, but for the simplicity of the of that code, I just decided not to implement it. Okay, then you can simple call this stored procedure as you can see there. So you're just specifying the path you want to export, then you can specify the schema, then the table, and the number of partitions. So in that particular case, as I mentioned, table is partitioned by month. We are exporting the oldest year to S3, and this is how the flow is looking like.
Yes, so what you see here is in essence just using a connection to Vertica, and then here we are then executing again the stored procedure statement directly towards Vertica, and then the archiving will happen.
Yeah, and the last is also about the slowly changing dimension. So previously you have seen how we can deal with orchestrating the data pipelines directly from on the data which are inside the data warehouse or inside Vertica. Now you can see how you can deal with the situation when we are slowly changing
Yes.
or updating the dimensions. Rune, over to you.
I will share that. So yeah, first of all, the job that failed before was because of a invalid name table. So now it runs. You extract the report and you process it to the file. So now connection, you execute, and then you process it. Goes to the file, and that's it. So the archiving, that was just executing stored procedure, and now the slowly changing dimension. So what we often see with slowly changing dimension, it's a bit tiresome task. So here I have a database where my local database, and I just extract the data I want to use for my slowly changing dimension. And here then we have an ELT component that will then create a slowly changing dimension type 2 table on Vertica, create the table if it doesn't exist, and we can then just use the internal map editor or a graphical component here, where normally all the columns will be listed up here. And then I drag that column that is the business key. I will drag that down here. So this is the key that it's gonna identify by. And then I drop the components or the columns into this piece over here where I want to use slowly changing dimensions type 2. So that means that it will create a new record if changes happens to any of these columns, and close the previous record and then create a new record. And you can see down here that I have the starting time for the record is the an incoming column, which is called a last deal update. So that will be the starting point of where the record is valid, and then I'm closing the record off by 9999 as the end year. But I'm also applying a version of the record, and I'm also going to apply an active flag so it's easier to query. Now I can combine these two things as well. Oh, sorry. So I'm also providing a surrogate key up here. That's the key that keeps what's called keeps increasing for every record that comes in, and it will start by taking the max key on the target table, and then from there on apply 1. So every time you run this, it will take the max value of the S key on the target and then add 1 for every record. Now I can combine these things as well. So I can also put in one of the field, which is deal size. I can put that in as a type 1. That means that if there is a change to deal size, it will then update all the records to the current deal size value on all the records, also the historical ones. But again, that depends on how you want to do this. You can also apply a type 0 field. That means there's no updates to them, and you can also define a type 3 where you get the current value of the record and the previous value of the record in the same row. So it's just a matter of dragging the different columns into the various spaces and then apply OK. And then you can then execute this, and it will then run and create the type 2 dimension over here. Oh, maybe I did something wrong. So now it will query the Vertica database, and what you can see here is that the key is defined here, and the vendor name, and you get your version, whether or not it's the active one, and the surrogate key as well. So that is what that's all it takes to create a slowly changing dimension. And you can see here there's the old one here, that's the false one. So this is not the active anymore, and it has been closed as well. Yeah, this one closed. Sorry, this one closed here, and then the latter one was the active one. So that is in essence what it requires. Just take your data and model it so you have the correct fields, and then put it into the component, and it will then create both the insert of the new record. It will also close the old record, and it will update the fields that are required. And there. And next up, Machi.
So thank you, Rene. So as you can see, slowly changing dimension is a pretty common, let's say, challenge that you can face during your data pipelines and populating your data warehouse. And also we can find if you want to understand more how you can do it in also in Vertica, please refer to those two LinkedIn articles. You have the link on the visible on the slide with QR code, and was created by one of our colleague Marco Gessner. So kindly recommend to read it and understand how you can run it with Vertica. And another last thing we want to mention today to you is the Vertica feature. It's called flattened tables, that allows you to also which allows you to deal with all Star-like or Snowflake-like data schemas and make it more efficient and query those data models in a more efficient way. So basically, what you can saw or you can see in many deployments of data warehouse is a fact table that is related by keys with several dimension table, right? So why not doing that differently and expand the fact table with additional columns, which could be automatically enriched when you are loading the data from the contributing or corresponding dimension and tables. So in Vertica, that process is, or that feature is called a flattened table. It's fully automated once you define it. It's fast, efficient, and does not take a lot of resources. And it's cheap because you are not, we are columnar, so we are in the wider term, we're just referring to existing data that are already in the databases, in the database, and that table could be easily refreshed. Remember, Vertica is a columnar database, so adding or refreshing the column is a quite easy task for us. But the biggest benefit is that instead of running complex joins queries over the fact table plus corresponding dimension, you can just call the wider table in a way you can see in that particular code snippet. So how you define the external table, flattened table, is you just simply add the column and you are referred to the dimension, to the corresponding table based on the keys. And you have two options: default and set using, and data to that column is being populated when the data is being loaded to our wider table or when the column is added. But you can also have an ability to refresh the data once you change something in the dimension table by calling a refresh underscore columns function. And remember, that function, that feature could be added or dropped as needed at any point in time. And that would be in overall everything what we wanted to present it to you today. And to summarize and then to make a final message, so our solutions together supporting a modern data pipelines, which also allows you to have a flexible data access wherever the data it resides, allow you to run a complex analytical queries on top of all the data in a very, very easy way, and with a unified user experience. And the purpose of those activities is just the data monetization your organization can achieve. So thank you very much for today's session. Now we are able to answer your question, and thank you in advance for any questions you put into the.
Thank you so much, Maciej and Rune, for the presentation. I think we went over some very interesting features of Talend and Vertica. Now let's quickly go through questions. So first of all, I think this is for you, Maciej. Is the infer function supporting other formats than Parquet?
Yes, so currently infer function supports ORC as well, beside Parquet. But also, if you want to have similar functionality for CSV files or for accessing the data in external databases, then you can look at our GitHub server and download some additional components like ODB or D2L. Created by Mauricio Felice and Marco Gessner, and they will be helpful to address that particular goal.
Thanks a lot. And another question, can I use Talend Cloud to orchestrate data pipelines that are running in our local data center? This is for data privacy concerns. I think this is for you, Rune.
Yeah. Yes, you can. So Talend orchestrates the jobs and sends them to your user-defined batch engine or cluster location. So you will have full control. I mean, you decide where your engines should run or where your cluster is. So yeah, you can download the engine, run it on premise. You can spin it up on AWS or through Azure Marketplace, or you can even Dockerize it, and if you Dockerize it, and then dynamically deploy engines in your environment and scale up and down. So all options are there, but you have full control of where your data process.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rune. There is another one for you. Can I orchestrate all the jobs that you presented in a single Talend flow?
Yes, sure, of course. So in the Talend management console or operational console, you can create what we call workflow plans or plans where you can specify the execution order of the different jobs. So in essence, run job one. If that fails, run another job. If it succeeds, run this job. So you have that full control. But you can also create a Talend job where you just drop in the other jobs into that job, and then you can control the flow through that as well. So there are multiple options to do this.
So this is in the context of reusing more atomic jobs within multiple flows, right?
Yeah, you can do that as well. And we also have a joblet construction, which is reusable across multiple jobs if it's the same template you're using or same job structure.
Perfect. Thank you, Rune. Another one for Maciej. Is there an option to only refresh parts of the table, such as a specific partition, using or default in a flattened table? This is in the context where there are some large tables, several billion records, and there is a need to refresh them in a way that doesn't put too much pressure on the infrastructure.
That's a very good and tricky question, right? So Vertica refresh columns table provides two modes for refreshing, and one is update, that is you applied for relatively, let's say, small tables, but there is also rebuild option that is much more efficient when we are rebuilding the let's say the data in the quite larger column, right? But there is also a, let's say, additional feature. If we have functionality that, or we have a table that is partitioned, right, as you are mentioning, there is a function that is calling a swap partition between tables. This is a momentary operation, very fast, because it's working on Vertica internal data metadata level. And the trick is to, let's say, move to that new table that is partitioned in the same way as the original table, the data in a form that you want to have them, and then try to use swap partition between tables. And that could be more efficient and very fast way to achieve the goal you are mentioning.
So basically using a buffer table and then making use of swap partitions in order to a very fast.
Exactly, precisely, right? You can call it buffer table, right?
Yeah, this is a mechanism that we use in our deployments in order to do massive updates on data, while not necessarily we need to update the entire table.
Exactly.
Good. Another one for Maciej. Can I define external tables to other databases such as MS SQL or Oracle in Vertica?
Yes, of course you do, right? Because this is available by adding additional, or you need to install additional component on Vertica that is also available on GitHub, Vertica GitHub in the internet, called ODBC Loader. And what is interesting in version 11, that the new version of ODBC Loader communicates internally with the Vertica engine. And once we are issuing query with set of predicates, that query that is going to the, let's say, remote database via ODBC, it's being rewritten on the fly, adding additional predicates that are needed to satisfy that particular query. So instead of grabbing all the data from the table and transmit them over the network to Vertica to be able to execute some massive or complex analytical query, you just taking only this part of the data from the remote database, which is necessary to fulfill the particular query you are running on Vertica side. Yeah, but this is available in Vertica 11. So if you want to have this, I strongly recommend to update your current installation to version 11.
Definitely, this is a recommendation that we always do to our customers, especially that Vertica 11 has so much new features that are added, including the stored procedures, yes, that were long expected. And now we're really happy to have it here, especially that it's not like a new language, which is Vertica supports Postgres procedural language, so it's pretty much straightforward. Yeah. So these were all the questions. Thank you so much to all attendees that have provided their questions to the webinar. We are really happy that we were able to present quite a big collection of features from Talend and Vertica that we as implementation partner, we are heavily using throughout our implementations. We really want to thank Rune and Maciej for joining and for preparing the presentation. And we also want to thank Ryan for organizing the webinar. Thanks for participating and see you soon.